Wow, I feel like we had a full day already. We are continuing on with our theme for the month, which is Change Freely, which has been our theme for the year, change. And today we'll be working with spiritual principles that you can find in the back of your seat if you'd like to follow along with me. We'll be dealing with spiritual principle number 1. We believe in God, the living spirit, almighty one. Spiritual principle number 2. We believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one. Spiritual principle number 4. We believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. Spiritual principle number 7, we believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. Change freely. When we say that, perhaps I'm talking about an opportunity for us to change where we are living so in joy. I think sometimes there is a hesitancy within us to express the joy that is inherently within us. That somehow we put the light on it, that we have a tendency to dim it. And today the invitation is for all of us to take the top off and to let our light shine so that we are in joy. You know, the song like, joy, joy, God's great joy, 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 down in my soul. That joy. If you can't get with that, I got another one for you. So, you might know songwriter and artist Lizzo. She has a song called Feeling Good as Hell. And it speaks to joy. And she says, I do my hair toss, check my nails. Tell me how you feeling. Feeling good as joy. Come on, you know you want to do it with me. I do my hair toss, check my nails. Tell me how you feeling. Feeling real good. Hair toss, check my nails. Tell me how you feeling. Feeling real good. Joy is what I'm talking about. Several years ago, before I got married, I was online doing the online dating thing. And so when you go online to do online dating, you have to create a profile. And it's where you're supposed to take a snapshot of yourself so that others can get a chance to know about you and see if they are interested in you, all that. So I did my profile, and my first line was, I am happy and joyous 95% of the time. And so someone read my profile, and they responded back to my profile, and she said all these things, and she said, and about that feeling good, happiness, and joyous 95% of the time. I don't think so. Because who feels happy and joyous 95% of the time? But perhaps her question should have been, what is the source of your joy? Where does it come from? And how is it sustained and how is it maintained? Joy. Howard Thurman in Deep is the Hunger, he says this about joy. He says that people find joy all kind of ways, and that there are those who find joy deep in their heart. It is not related to or dependent upon or derived from any circumstances or conditions in the midst of which they must live. It is a joy independent of all vicissitudes. There is a strange quality of awe in their joy that is but a reflection of the deep, calm water of the spirit out of which it comes. It is primarily a discovery of the soul when God makes known his presence, where there are no words, no outward song, only the divine movement. This is the joy that the world cannot give. This is the joy that keeps watch against all the emissaries of sadness, of mind, and weariness of soul. This is the joy that comforts and is a companion as we walk even through the valley of the shadow of death. Joy. And now that we are at this time of the year, where many of us have the tendency to get in our feelings, and joy seems to elude us because there's a lot going on, you know, and there's no getting away from it. I'm talking about the holidays. I'm talking about Thanksgiving time. I'm talking about harvesting. I'm talking about sharing. I'm talking about engaging in thanksgiving and gratitude. And or perhaps people are thinking about and contemplating the perpetuated lies of how our nation came to be. I'm just telling you what people might be thinking about, what might be going through their mind. And then there are our friends and our family. And then there are our friends and our family. Our family and our friends. So during this time of Thanksgiving, it is truly an opportunity for us to give praise, to be in praise, to be in gratitude. And I want to read you just a little something from Ernest Holmes. There is a Thanksgiving message that Ernest Holmes did that was penned, and many of the centers are reading from it, maybe discussing it some, but I wanted to just read a little bit of it to you. In it, he says that he talks about how children and dogs respond to praise and how they want more of it and can receive it. And so he goes on to say that Thanksgiving is more than a day to serve turkey and dressing and eat brown gravy on mashed potatoes. It really means that we should be grateful for life, that we should praise the giver of all good, that we should gratefully acknowledge the priceless heritage of a free and noble people. But how much time do we spend in affirming the good things of life, in recognizing that which is best in ourselves and others? In the exhalation of this spirit, the psalmist exclaimed, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless the Lord's holy name." He says, we want to find something in people and situations that will respond to us with joy and vitality. Suppose it were there all the time, and our lack of acknowledgement merely obscures it. He says that there is a divine presence at the center of things which responds to us, and it ought to be so real that we feel it everywhere, in everyone, and in every situation. Our starting point is to believe this not as a theory or idle dream, but as something to be recognized and entered into here and now. He goes on to say, Are you and I giving thanks and praising the increase? Are we gratefully acknowledging the good we wish to experience? Or are we condemning the little things in our lives so that they cannot multiply in our hands? After all, it is really the little things that count. And he goes on and says a few more things in the reading, but I'm going to stop right there. So if we were then to sift through everything that's going on now, to sort through our feelings perhaps, we would come to the center and we would find certainly that one thing remains. And that is that we are always at choice. We are always at choice, and knowing that we are always at choice is a position of power. That's where our power lies. So for some of us then, the upcoming weeks may be filled with joy and happiness and goodness and gratitude, and there might still come a moment of messiness. And you might be wondering, what do I do with this messiness? What am I to do in this messy moment? Our silent moments of acknowledging the past? What am I to do with it? Change. See, it's one thing to change, and it's another thing to remember that you've changed. That was so good, I can't let you walk out of here and forget it. Turn to your neighbor and tell them, it's one thing to change, and it's another thing to remember that you've changed. One more time to the other neighbor, tell them, it's one thing to change, and another thing to remember that you've changed. So what do we do? What do I do? Nothing. No thing, so that we may become available to everything. In those moments of messiness, do nothing so that we may become available to everything, so that we may be willing to let all of our expectations go. Our expectations of others. See, it's one thing to change, it's another thing to remember that you've changed. If your intention is to experience and express joy, unending joy that the world does not know of, so we can delve more deeper into the expectation of life when we let our expectations of others go. Ernest Holmes says that our expectation looks for a more complete manifestation of our own inner divinity. When we can let our expectations of others go, expecting them to talk about what happened in the past, expecting them to say, I'm sorry, expecting them to change what happened 20 years ago, expecting them to somehow miraculously change and to become somebody that they are not. See, letting all of our expectations go so that we can be present and available for our own inner divinity to begin to manifest through us, to spring us into, to propel us back into joy. I do my hair, toss, check my nails, tell you how I'm feeling. Real good. So we are doing this so that we can remember that we are at choice. And when we remember that we are at choice, it's easy then for us to move into gratitude. It's easy for us to move into thanksgivingness, to be so full of thanks, to be so full of gratitude. Because when we find ourselves in a state of gratitude for what I have not yet received, our consciousness then becomes open and receptive. Thanksgivingness is a matter of us being open and receptive to the good that's not here yet. It opens us up to an opportunity to consider what the relationship can be like, what the week might be like, what our days can be like. It's an invitation for us to invite